Hi there, this is Sally Alata with AgilityHealth, and I'm going to give you an overview of the talent development program and a short demo of the skill assessments and the role-based radars and how it works. So as a quick introduction, the goal of the talent development program really is to accelerate developing talent specifically for roles that are really highly impacted by Agile or this new way of working, or maybe new roles that you're trying to develop. And making sure that the program is holistic. It's not only skills development, it's not only focused on training, it really is sort of an end-to-end talent development program. So obviously it includes the skills assessment by role, there is a talent development and a growth strategy, and then we do want to tie talent development back to outcomes, and outcomes would be the maturity and the growth of the teams themselves. So we recommend sort of what we call this 2x2, which is really for each role that you're trying to develop that you create a specific learning roadmap for that role. If people are just new to that role, what would they learn? 6 months later, what would you take them through? So maybe a 3 or 4 step learning roadmap that would be a combination of in-person training or online training. We do also recommend that we create the role radar, which defines the competencies and it defines what good and not great looks like. So what does each competency have in terms of crawl, walk, run, fly? And then enable self-learning through the growth portal, which I'll show you. So allow people to learn on their own and make sure that you're building a community of practice that could mentor and engage people so that they can learn from each other. So the parts that we implement within AgilityHealth is the measure and grow, which is the role-based radars, and the growth portal, which I'll walk you through in detail. But I do want to show you these other two because they're important as part of your talent development strategy, which is the learning roadmap and creating a community of practice where people could mentor each other, what we call show me, pair with me, enable me, the 3-step mentorship process. This is an example of our growth portal, but I will actually take you through this in a little bit of detail. So let's walk through the talent development jumpstart. How does it actually work? We typically start with what we call, it's a 12-week program. We start with a strategy session. This could be a half day or a full day. We usually recommend the full day because it takes the full day. And that's where we identify the goals and the outcomes, which roles you're trying to develop, which radars. Do you want to use the existing ones that we have, or do you want to customize or create your own? And then what is the implementation plan? And then typically there is designing of the radars and the competencies, building the questions and deciding on the format of the questions, and we can show you some of the examples. Building the growth portal for the radar. The growth portal is what's going to enable self-learning, and then setting up the actual teams and the individuals that will be going through this. And then we do offer and provide you the slides yourself, the training for the leaders and the managers so that they know what this program is about and they know how to manage and leverage this data and how to coach and develop the people. And then the individuals themselves, because they need to be ready for these assessments, especially if you're going to do them as 360s, not just self-assessments. And then obviously the administrator. And then part of the launch is launching the role-based assessments, building the individual growth plans. Again, this program is not just about gathering data, although you can do that, you can gather the data, but it's very important that individuals going through this feel like they're getting value by building individual growth plans and what is it that they're going to improve on. You can also roll up and analyze the data across all of the roles. At the role level, we usually do a manager debrief session to read out the results, and then develop a growth plan at the management level. And so the end of the 12 weeks is really what we call the program readout, that has the recommendations and also has, what the individuals are going to work on, but what are we as an organization going to work on to develop that role. Here's some examples of what the radars look like. This is the Agile leadership radar. So this is these are the competencies. We call these over here dimensions. And these are 4 dimensions for the leadership vision and strategy: leading execution, value delivered, leadership behavior, and these dimensions have competencies. The competencies are the actual behaviors and the skills you're trying to develop, like shared vision, strategy, business outcomes, measure for success. And so every competency has a question underneath it. These are examples of other radars that we've got. So we've got the product owner or the product manager. We have the release train engineer, the scrum master. And of course, we can build several, and we have built many other custom radars. And here's just an example of when we talked about building a learning roadmap by role. This is just an example. You don't have to use this one, but this is an example of, for each role, how to build something that basically says over the next 12 to 18 months, here's what we recommend that you learn. All right, so now let's switch over to Agility Health itself. I'm taking you here through an Agile leadership assessment that was done across 8 people. Obviously, this can be done across more than that, but this is just as an example. So let's go into Kevin. And this, of course, is an example only. So the first thing that you're going to see is the dotted line is how Kevin self-assessed himself, and the colored is how others assessed him. So you can see where Kevin potentially underrated or actually was quite accurate and similar to what others, or where Kevin rated himself a little bit higher than what others rated. So this is the summary view of the radar. And then we'll go into the detailed view. The detailed view also does show you that individual versus everyone else. And I can remove Kevin's and just look at how others rated him. So this gives you a dot. The dot is an individual, another person that rated Kevin. The gray shading is the variance. Variance meaning how far apart were we in our opinion or in our rating. So this is what the radar looks like. As you scroll down, you get to see where are the highest competencies that were rated and what were the lowest competencies, which ones had the highest consensus, as in everybody agreed to them, that there was very low variance, and which ones were people all over the place. You also get to see the textual responses from how people answered, what Kevin's strengths are, areas for improvement, impediments, and finally, what Kevin does as he reviews this data. Typically, this data is reviewed with the manager or in what we call a peer review session. So peer review meaning that all of the folks from that same role, they come into, they get a debrief of the radar again, and then they sit as pairs and they read each other's assessments and they help each other develop growth plans. So that's one option that's more scalable. And then one-on-one is really the manager. The other third option is that individuals would identify a coach or a mentor, and the mentor would go through this with them and help them build their growth plan. The growth plan is like you see over here. So delegate to others is an individual growth plan. It's something that Kevin wants to work on himself. As a leader, I need to stop doing the work myself and start coaching and enabling others to take over the day-to-day decisions for managing training coordination. To succeed this quarter, I will. And so for the next 3 months, what is it specifically that Kevin will do to improve? The other type of growth plan that can be added is what we call a management growth plan. And so a management growth plan is something that Kevin wants his managers to help him with. So I'll show you in a little bit. This one actually rolls up and goes up to another level. Kevin can also switch to the Kanban view, and he can move items in progress or to done as he's going from one place to another. All right, so let's go back over here and look at the roll-up view. The roll-up view here is across multiple assessments. So again, this is all of the leaders that took this assessment now being rolled up into one view. And so now every dot represents somebody, an individual, a leader. And so what this helps you is to see, for example, where you do have strength. So modeling the desired culture is something that almost all the leaders are exhibiting, and they've got fairly good ratings. But maybe there's another area where leaders do need to improve, maybe customer focus. It looks like we've got some strong leaders here, but we have some leaders that do need some attention. Measures for success. We also have a few folks over here at the bottom that might need some coaching. So this is one way to look at the roll-up view. Another way is what we call this is what we use in our team health roll-up, but it's putting the individuals this way and looking at it from the perspective of just the colored chart of where they are. The other thing I wanted to show you here at the bottom is because this is the management roll-up, any issues that were reported as manager level, like this need LMS training, could be pulled into this backlog. And so if it's pulled into this backlog, it means really that now managers need to work on this. It's maybe a lot of different Scrum Masters said that they need training, so it wouldn't go into their individual backlog, but now it would go into the management backlog for improvement. And so now this is where it sits. And so obviously you can add more, but this basically says that at the management level, in order for us to improve on this role, here's what we need to get done. So now let's go into sample questions. So for example, when you click over here, we have different types of questions. This one's what we call the high and low. So high rating, so it's from a scale of 1 to 10. I inspire my team and lead them through change so they can adapt and thrive under uncertainty. So if you agree with that statement, you would give them a high rating. Low is I struggle with change myself, and many on my team resist it. We don't do well with change and ambiguity. So this is what we call the high and low rating for a question, and the questions are all from a scale of 1 to 10. Another approach to this that some of our customers have used is, for example, and this is what the survey looks like, team norms. Instead of, this is a Scrum Master assessment, and we're asking the question about how capable are they of building team norms within the team. And so this is kind of more of a 10 scale, but it has 5 different levels of maturity. No capability, which is also sometimes referred to as pre-crawl, which is they do not facilitate the definition of team norms. Emerging, stabilizing, maturing, mastering, these are different levels. Again, similar to crawl, walk, run, fly. These are different levels of maturity. This is a lot more detailed and a lot more prescriptive in terms of asking questions this way, and you'll find that it gives individuals almost a roadmap for development. So this is our recommended approach. We do have some customers that it's too much to write all these questions in the first pilot, but this is the approach that we recommend because we feel like it has the most value. The other thing I'd like to show you is the growth portal. So the growth portal is if somebody clicks on a specific competency and they're not doing well, they can click on this growth portal. And so here's an example of that team norms growth portal. And so what we've got over here is healthy versus unhealthy. Here are specific recommendations, and the recommendations map to the maturity stages. And in the growth portal, you can add additional resources. You can add resources, videos, training. I want to show you a full example here of the growth portal that's completely completed. So this one's stability and allocation. This is a competency. It has healthy and versus unhealthy. It has recommendations. There are videos that the person can watch. There are resources that they can download. Here's the associated training that they can attend related to this competency. And my favorite section is the coaching section. So those are mentors and coaches that are available in the company that you can book time with directly to help you with this competency. So this was a quick overview of our talent development program. Thanks for watching.